Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining this session today on building a foundation for effective data intelligence and reduce cost. My name is Kokila Roy, and I'm Director of Technology Transformation and Services at GEP. I've been here for nearly 7 years and have worked in the business technology sector for over 15 years. For the next 20 minutes or so, I want to share with you some of the things that have happened in recent times that have driven real transformation in companies right across industry and make some predictions about what the next changes are going to be. I'm going to start with this recent image, which is familiar to all of us. While COVID pandemic was surfacing the vulnerabilities in our supply chains, the incidence of Ever Given highlighted how fine some of the gaps are between the normal run of events and total chaos. At a cost of over $400 million, this container ship jammed up global trade for the best part of the week. Oh, by the way, that's $400 million per hour. The question that has come up about this situation is how much time elapsed between the Ever Given getting jammed until further ships stopped joining the queue in the Red Sea. The actual numeric answer we can all find out, but that is really not the point. Instead, the real question is how much shorter could have been the time between the incidents and the decision to act. The huge cost of delays and the subsequent disruptions at all the destination ports might have been avoided if the time to react had been minimized. And that is why, for me, this event is a perfect example of where the digital technology of the future will have major impact. To make that assessment of what to do in the case of a future failure at a critical choke point in a vital system, we need data, intelligence, and the means to project and predict outcomes. After the Ever Given, we all believe that to be able to do that quickly and accurately will result in massive cost avoidance in the future. Now, there is a lot of hype around the new technology, and every year there is a new development that is suddenly announced as a game changer. This results in a peak of inflated expectations. Artificial intelligence, for example, has been announced as being achievable within the next 5 years, every year since 1985. But what I hope to show you is that despite the hype and the promise of sudden step changes, the reality is more organic and the process is more drawn out over time. Take blockchain as an example. Interestingly, Gartner has recently suggested that blockchain should currently be placed at the right bottom of the trough of disillusionment. And this is the thing, the world is slow to turn despite how quickly things seem to change. The hype cycles of new technologies peak and trough when the reality is it takes time, long time, for developments to reach that final plateau and become intrinsic parts of how we work. Let us have a sneak peek at the supply chain solution market research report. This is showing the revenue reports. As for projections, in less than 10 years, the revenue across various supply chain market solutions is expected to double. This gives us high power and responsibility to invest in the right direction. IDC estimates that worldwide spending on technology and services that enable digital transformation will reach almost 2 trillion in 2021. Sourcing and procurement occupies a large segment of this overall supply chain market. With the collaboration and visibility across supply chain networks, this can be a source of high savings and revenue. I would like to hear your views on this through the audience poll. You should be seeing the poll questions on your screens on the left-hand side, top corner on the left side. I'll just read out the question for you and you can select the options appropriately. I'll read out the options as well. Which one of the below is most critical in your supply chain process? Operational efficiencies like manufacturing, retail, customer experience like product availability, on-time delivery, after-sales support, supply chain metrics like reporting and dashboards, consolidated information, and data management. I'll give you a few seconds to respond. Thank you very much for your response. I'll just move on from here. This gives us a good segue to have a look at the supply chain quarterly survey by CSCMP. While some of the statistics are on the screen, key findings from the survey are 74% of companies lost more revenue in 2020 than in 2019. The reason being integration issues. 88% admit that they lost orders. 25% admit they really don't know how many orders they are losing. Having gained new perspective on how outdated integration technology negatively impacts the revenue, 96% say that they will focus on cloud migrations and digital transformation in 2021. Relative to integration technology, the survey revealed that companies do not have sufficient visibility and control over what's really happening with their supply chains. Nearly 9 out of 10 companies said having end-to-end process visibility was important for their business. Most companies added new supply chain partners in 2020, but slow onboarding negatively impacted on the revenues. The reasons go back to legacy systems and insufficient application integration. One clear takeaway from the survey is that organizations have gained a new perspective on the value of cloud integration, prompting 9 out of 10 B2B companies to take immediate action and change the way they do business with their ecosystem. Market survey shows digitization of business and cloud integration initiatives are not new to B2B businesses. But in 2020, the pandemic shined light on how important these initiatives are to growth of the revenue and for some even survival. Let us have a sneak peek at the very basics of the procurement process, which is known to most of us. In simple terms, it starts with an investigation of spend history and spend matters to reveal opportunities for savings, for value, and productivity improvements based on a range of different metrics. That investigation naturally leads to plans, strategies, and deliver the value identified. And then through the practices of sourcing negotiation, these plans are executed to set up the contracts, which are the vehicles for the value. With the contracts in place, the value set up during the negotiation can at last be exploited. Sure, the relationship with the supplier must be managed so that the contract terms are complied with, so that the pricing, delivery, and service are all within the planned limits. But that also means that the value results when the contracts are used by you and by your colleagues. So it's only here that the savings, the value are actually realized. But here is the issue. This complete process can break down. Failing to manage the supplier correctly, and more importantly, failing to actually use the contracts are the most common reasons why savings are never realized. The potential cannot be actualized if all the work that people have put together in creating those vehicles for value is not exploited. Software and data systems should ideally support the process and prevent failure. But the issue for many years has been that all of these steps and sometimes sub-steps within them are managed by different people, often using their own choice of softwares. The response to this has been the entire process moving into what is called as unified source to pay system. Let me give you a glimpse of the unified source to pay platform. Using a single data model and effectively a single application, the different stakeholders, from the strategists to the contract attorneys, to the supplier managers, and to the end users, they can all work in the same digital workspace, passing the value from step to step without any loss of integrity, without any evaporation of the value, and critically overcoming all those points of potential breakdown. The unified model overcomes that gap between the procurement operation and the operating business. When the new contract comes into force, it can be immediately pushed into the purchasing system, and all the end users needs to continue to order the parts they need. This model of data-centric unified procurement system was developed a few years ago and is now the best-in-class solution for procurement operations. Despite that, today some organizations still follow a multi-vendor piecemeal approach to software use. Sometimes this can be politically motivated by different stakeholders guarding their areas of responsibility. Sometimes it can come more from traditional IT approach where feature and function checklists dominate the selection process. But the reality is procurement operations drive value into the business by how smoothly and quickly they work in the handoff from one step to the another, not by how the functions work within themselves. This move to a more holistic view of the end-to-end operation has led to the most forward-thinking companies to consider digital transformation in procurement. What is making this possible is the set of underlying innovations in technology that I referred to earlier. They are starting to mature and present genuine solutions. Another important aspect is collaboration. Research from Forbes suggests that as many as 47% of all supplier collaborations fail. In the case of one manufacturer, poor supplier relations over 10-year period led to 24 billion unrealized income. This is a report of end-to-end supply chain collaboration best practices by University of Tennessee. This shows a direct dependency of savings and collaboration maturity. The bottom line is simple. Effectively collaborating to create value can drive bottom line benefits for all the parties. Together, purchasing, logistics, and operations are responsible for well over 80% of the cost in most companies. Within that 80%, most organizations spend over half with external suppliers. To achieve supply chain excellence and drive shareholder value, a firm must achieve excellence in the supply chain in both functions of purchasing, logistics, and operations, and externally when they're working with the suppliers. To do that requires not only functional excellence individually within these critical functions, but also integrated excellence collectively. Altogether, the journey from level 1 to level 5 yield a 20 to 30% gain, moving a country and a company to a clear competitive advantage. As an example, a global electronics company is using artificial intelligence to speed up collaboration on major global issues. The company was facing a shortage of a critical item in Asia. The AI tool searched all similar issues in Asia and decisions companies made to resolve it. This data was utilized by the team to speed up the process and determine the possible options to resolve the issue. The company feels that the use of AI tools reduced the response time to the issue by 50%. These types of collaboration tools eliminate time-consuming data collection and focus the collaboration on decision-making. What that means is today we have an architecture that permits the development of multiple applications on the multiple applications in this digitally transformed platform model. Now, this results in the potential for a whole host of different applications that can take advantage from a data-centric business engine. The number of different business functions that exist in this application layer is growing. Procurement and supply chain are beginning to merge to become more closely integrated at a human level as the information systems are making it possible to connect the disciplines. Data is key to everything. A huge break to innovation and in direct and indirect procurement and supply chain has been the complex landscape of legacy systems that simply cannot be moved out and replaced quickly. This diagram is a simplified version of one shared by our clients. It shows the kind of systems landscape that is typically present in a company with big direct materials. When a category owner is trying to purchase a single new part, they have to access multiple systems to acquire the information that is needed to purchase that simple material. Where each of these systems is critical in its own way, each of these legacy systems is extremely important, but none of them are connected in a meaningful way. What keeps this kind of company from being able to get ahead and transform direct procurement value is the very fact that these systems simply set up are just too critical to change. We would like to know your views as well as to what do you think is very critical for your supply chain processes. So again, if you can visit your poll screen, the question is displayed on the screen. Which of the following presents the biggest challenge in the digital transformation of supply chain process? First option is fragmented process across multiple systems. Second option, end user satisfaction and adoption. Third is system upgrades and ripple effects. Fourth is scalability and maintenance. If we will give you 10 seconds to respond. Thank you very much. This is a forecast overview for supply chain management worldwide. In this, it is showing 5 key factors which are motivating organizations to invest in supply chain technology over the next 3 years. As you can see, the top few reasons are reducing the operating and support costs, enhancing the decision-making through data analytics, supporting new business and operating models, and further, which are nothing new to any one of us. The procurement and supply chain control system in years to come will be founded on data from everywhere, not just from within our own systems. Data as a foundation with artificial intelligence at the core becomes the new infrastructure. The applications we will use on a daily basis will be built on top of this platform. That is where the digital procurement transformation is heading. A major shift into data-centric layered architecture that permits the establishment of a control tower to oversee the global operation while freeing up the different functions and locations to operate with agility and flexibility to cope with the demands of a never normal world. I leave you with this thought. There's a saying coined by Winston Churchill, we shape our buildings, thereafter they shape us. This is a warning to the architects and to those who specify business software systems. If we are not careful, what we build around us today will constrain, confine, and limit what we can and how far we can see through tomorrow. This will indeed impact long-term savings and revenue targets. My version of that saying is we should design not for how we work today, but for how we want to work tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining me today. I would just request you to go to your poll screens and provide your interest to know more about our companies. Please do visit our booth for more information, and feel free to reach out to us on our websites and LinkedIn. Thank you very much. We look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you very much, Kokila. Thank you once again for those crisp thoughts. And most importantly, I believe the tone that you've set for the way we need to think for the future than just harvesting for today, but also keep that in the radar. So I believe that was beautifully brought out in a detailed analysis that you've shared in the form of the numbers, the stats, and most importantly, your presentation. So thank you once again, Kokila, for joining us today. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to again march ahead towards our next session as well. And I hope you all also ensured you managed to participate in those interesting polls that Kokila shared with you all. And with that, let's move on towards our next topic and our next session. In fact, it's going to be a case study. We will be focusing on PwC's perspective on digital supply chain. Now, this afternoon, we have the presence of our speaker, who in fact is a partner and leader supply chain transformation with PwC India. He comes with more than 2 decades of experience across consulting and industry in the areas of supply chain. So we have with us Mr. Ajay Nair joining us at this 8th annual edition for all of us to take a look at this wonderful case study. A warm welcome indeed, and we will get the session started in just a couple of seconds, so stay with us and we'll get the case study started.